Today's pick for Name That Song is
You'll be back, soon you'll see. You remember you belong to me. You'll be back, time will tell. You remember that I served you well. Oceans rise, empires fall. We have seen each other through it all. And when push comes to shove, I will send a fully armed battalion to remind you of my love.
Hey guys, it's Zoe, and today I'm going to be talking about 7 school books that I loved. This is a follow-up to the video School Books That I Hated. I figured I'd balance out some of the negativity with a little bit of positivity. I think I did 7 books last time. Shit, let's look. Yes, it was 7 books. Anyways, as I mentioned in the other video, I have had to read a lot of books for school between my 3 degrees. I was kind of indifferent about most of them, but there were standouts that I loved and that I hated, and these are the ones that I loved. Starting with The Divine Comedy by Dante. We only had to read The Inferno for class, but naturally I went ahead and I read all of it. This wasn't the copy that we were supposed to get for class. I have another one that I had for class, but this one was just pretty. And it was all 3 parts in one. The other one is just Inferno. Honestly, if we had read the entire Divine Comedy, we could have spent an entire semester on that, but we had other shit to get to. So we just stuck with Inferno. This is an epic poem that was written in the early 1300s. I think it was started in like 1302 or something. And it starts midway through his path in life, where he's just blah about everything. The Divine Comedy follows Dante's journey through hell, purgatory, and finally heaven in Inferno, Purgatorio y Paradiso. Hell, purgatory, and heaven. His guide is Virgil, the ancient poet, and he encounters a lot of weird shit. We had some of the coolest discussions in class about this book. I'm probably going to end up rereading it in 2019 just for shits, because why the hell not? It's everything an epic poem should be. Next is one that I had to read for at least 1 class, possibly 2. I don't remember, but 1 for sure. This one is a very ugly copy of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I swear I have another copy somewhere, but I don't know where it is. That one had Through the Looking Glass as well. This one doesn't. Yeah. I don't think Alice needs an introduction. Really, everybody knows the Alice in Wonderland story. But for those of you who have been living under a rock your entire lives, it follows a little girl named Alice who falls down a rabbit hole and ends up in Wonderland. And the shit that she experiences is just, somebody experienced a bad trip. Looking at you, Lewis Carroll. You had a bad trip. That's what happened there. The next one is a book that I was kind of like, what the hell am I reading the entire time? But in a good way. I ended up loving it even though I was so confused most of the time. The first time that I read it, subsequent readings have clarified a lot of things more. I read this for 3 classes, I think, with the same prof. This book is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. My prof was so in love with this book, she would almost cry when she would talk about it because she was that excited. This book was so good on so many levels. I don't even know how to articulate how much I enjoy this book. Wuthering Heights is a book that's mainly told through flashbacks when a man named Lockwood goes to Wuthering Heights and he meets Heathcliff, the landlord, who is a piece of shit. That's the only way to describe him. And he asks Nellie, the housekeeper, to explain the history of Wuthering Heights and everything that's gone on in Heathcliff's life, essentially. Every single one of the characters is just so messed up in these flashbacks. Kathy is just all over the place. Heathcliff, always a piece of shit. Hindley, piece of shit. Everybody just sucks. I don't know why I love this so much, but it's just so damn good. Another one that I should probably reread in 2019, just for shits, but with like a prettier copy, because this is just not aesthetically pleasing at all. The next book I have isn't technically a book, it's a play, but we're gonna count it as a book. This one is The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde. This is just over 100 pages long, so it's super short. I thought it was laugh out loud funny all the way through. It was exactly my sense of humor, and I don't know why I haven't read anything else by Oscar Wilde yet, because this was just so good. But this picture really cracks me up. I don't know what's going on here, but I like it. This play is all about mistaken identities and secret engagements and characters just being completely wacky in the best possible way. Two women fall in love with a man named Ernest. However, Ernest is actually two different men who pretend to be a guy named Ernest. A man named Jack and a man named Algernon have adopted the same fake identity, and two separate women have fallen in love with them. All four of the characters arrive at Jack's country home, and the two women fight over Ernest, and the two men posing as Ernest fight over the two women, and nobody really knows who's who. It's amazing. The whole thing is fantastic. The ending was just semi-predictable but unpredictable at the same time. I don't know how to describe this. It's a roller coaster of a play in the best possible way. The next book is one that I had never heard of, and it was a choice between reading this one or Dracula, and I was like, why the hell not? I already know the Dracula story. Let's read this one, which was She by H. Rider Haggard. Yes, H. Rider Haggard. This was an amazing book, and I'm surprised I had never heard of it until this class. This follows two men, a professor named Horace and his ward named Leo, who travel to a lost kingdom in the middle of Africa. This is all brought about when Leo receives a package from his deceased father that said, "Open when you turn 25." And in it were some weird things that led them on this journey to the middle of Africa. When they get to where they need to go, they meet a queen who is referred to only as she, or she who must be obeyed. In this lost kingdom, they find mysterious connections between Leo's family, this kingdom, and Aisha, the real name of she who must be obeyed. From what I remember, although I could be wrong because it has been several years since I've read this, the book dealt with modern views at the time of race and feminism and women in general, and it was a really interesting read seeing how the author thought about these issues. We had a lot of good discussion in our class about those particular issues and some more that are brought up within this book, and I love the experience of reading it. I want to try and read it again without that discussion, without other people's input, and just see if I feel the same about it this time as I did the first time. The next book should come as no surprise to anyone who's been on my channel for a bit. I have talked about how much I love this book, and the reason I love this book is because I had to read it for a Canadian Lit class. This one is Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. I've talked about it enough, but we'll say it one more time. This follows a girl named Anne who is an orphan that's taken in by the Cuthberts, and it follows her from childhood to adulthood and everything in between. It's one of the most wholesome stories in the entire world. It's just a sweet cinnamon roll of a book. I laughed, I cried, I laughed some more, I cried a lot more. I had a great time reading this every single time. The last book that I have here is yet another one that I had to read for multiple classes. I loved everything about it. The writing style, the setting, the characters. It really could have fallen flat in so many places, but it just didn't. This one is The Awakening by Kate Chopin. This follows a Louisiana housewife who is discovering her sexuality for the first time and wants to take her life back from the patriarchy. Do you need anything else in a book? Really? Obviously, it didn't go well for Edna, our main character, because this is set in the late 1800s. Women's sexuality at the time was just hush hush, you don't have it, lie back and think of England, to put it in a nutshell. Unsurprisingly, after this book came out, the author was shunned, her career was destroyed, nobody wanted anything to do with her because she had the audacity to suggest that a woman was a sexual being. The horror. It's not a particularly happy story, it's not particularly uplifting, but it kind of is at the same time in an unconventional way. This was yet another book that we had a lot of good discussion around, and I had multiple profs use this book as one of our required readings, so I got a lot of different perspectives from a lot of different people, and it was an amazing experience every time I had to read this book. And with that, we have come to the end of 7 school books that I loved. Let me know down below in the comments what school books you read that you loved and how you felt about any of these ones if you had to read them. As always, to stay updated with my current reads and how I'm feeling about them, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Goodreads, all at Your Book Nerd Zoe, which I will leave linked down below in the description box. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I hope you all have a wonderful day and get at least a little bit of uninterrupted reading time. I'll see you next time. Bye!